Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Expert to Authority show. This is the show for coaches, speakers, and trainers who want to grow their businesses while making an impact in the world. My name is Simone Vincenzi, and I'm your host. And today we have a special guest where we are going to talk about building a brand with $1 a day strategy. So stay tuned because it's going to be an incredible episode. Now, again, if you are new, welcome to the show. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as subscribe on our YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. Before we start, just one quick thing that I want to let you know. I know that a lot of people, they use webinar to get clients, and in particular, one of the things that they struggle with is actually to create a really effective presentation that gives you clients. So we have solved the problem for you because we have created an incredible webinar conversion kit, which gives you a very simple, easy to use step-by-step process to create a high converting webinar presentation. Make sure you check it out. The link is in the show notes, or you can go into webinarconversionkit.com. So that's webinarconversionkit.com. Now, it is time to introduce our guest for today. He's the Chief Executive Officer at BlitzMetrics, a digital marketing company which partners with schools to train young adults. And Dennis' mission is to provide education and no cost to students. Its program centers around mentorship and helping students grow their expertise in digital marketing to drive leads and sales by managing and ad campaigns for enterprise clients like the Golden State Warriors, Nike, the Rosetta Stone. He's an internationally recognized lecturer in Facebook marketing and has spoken over 730 times in 17 countries, spanning 5 continents, including Keynote L2E, PubCon, Conversion Conference, Social Media Marketing World, Gultagen, and Marketo Summit. Without further ado, please welcome to the show the one and only Dennis Yu. Good to see you on the show, Dennis.
Good to see you, Simone.
All right. So before to get started, I know that marketing is your thing. Marketing is your thing, building brands. What got you into that? What got you started?
I'm an engineer. I'm a math guy. And I see that there's numbers and math behind websites and social media. And I figure it's a big math equation. If we can get the right people to see the right audience, pay the right price, show them the right offer, then it's just a big math equation that creates more value for all of us. And over 20 years ago, I helped build the analytics at Yahoo, which is a search engine. And I got a view into people's behavior and people's data. So even though a lot of people are now calling this thing marketing, 20 years ago, it was called webmastering. And that's what I did. I was an engineer and I built websites.
I'm interested to start from your time at Yahoo. Now, what was, it's not a small company. And you can definitely have data and analytics on incredible insights on human behavior, as you mentioned. What was the one thing that was unexpected for you that made you go like, wow, I didn't really think this about people while you were looking at it?
Yahoo was a small company back when I was there. And what was unexpected for me was I thought, a search engine, wow, there's at that time, billions of pieces of data that we were collecting per day. Now it's trillions. And I thought there's so much competition, so many people trying to offer the same thing that it can be discouraging, right? And a lot of people would say that today, if they're a coach, expert, trainer, entrepreneur, other people are saying the same thing. But when I looked at the data, and so I had a very unique view because I had 13 terabytes of search data coming to me every day, right? The way the process and create reports and analyze and all this, I saw that half of these queries were never searched for ever, but they're completely unique in the history of humanity. And I thought, how could that be? And I saw that people, once they found something that they liked, and by the way, 30% of the things that people search for on Yahoo were things that I can't tell you what they are, but I think you know what they are, right?
I might have an idea.
And it was 30% of our revenue. And then later, the engineers at Google a lot of them came from my team. They admitted it was the same thing there. So you can't blame Yahoo for this, okay? You can blame Google just as much for those sorts of things. But I noticed
Or you can blame humans.
Yeah. I mean, people blame me. Oh, you're serving you're part of this whole thing and you're serving ads and serving these particular industries. And I said, look, someone had to type that in. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we didn't type it in. We're just the network. If someone types this in, we're going to show them an ad, but it's not even our ad. There's advertisers here. There's people that are searching. It creates a whole community. You know, it's like Uber has drivers and riders. So the other surprise is that when people would come in and they type something, right? It could be something like losing weight. It could be, you know, checking Bank of America for their stock market, or, you know, their account every day or whatever it is, checking the weather, looking at the vacation in Hawaii that they want to take. They would do the same thing over and over and over again. And so that really surprised me. And it taught me that people are creatures of habit. And this is true for every entrepreneur, podcaster, expert, host, whatever, listening right now. You need to understand this. If you can find something, if you can solve that particular problem or provide that particular advice in that situation when someone is searching for that one thing, then if you can do it just once, you can do it 1,000 times. You just have to figure out how to harvest that demand. So I found there's a friend of mine, and are you familiar with like vitamins and supplements? There's this one particular vitamin called St. John's wort. Have you heard of it?
No, not that particular one.
I mean, you could say like vitamin B12 or like whatever your favorite one is. But anyway, this guy, he just for some reason became the expert in St. John's wort, right? And I thought, how big is St. John's wort? I mean, what is that worth? You know, like $2 a day, millions of dollars. Who would have thought some small, like this guy became the guy for St. John's wort? And it's surprising. Like you'll hear people say, oh, you need to, you know, focus on the niches and that's where the riches are and really nice, you know, focus down. But it's true. And I saw, because I had an inside view, nobody else can really challenge this. A lot of people have their opinion about the internet. I actually had the data. I could see this, right? What a unique view, right? I saw there's so many of these little niches that you would think are nothing that are millions of dollars. It just blew my mind.
It's interesting because also this topic is about becoming an authority in your field. And that's what I like to connect with, people that are incredible at what they do. And there is a stereotype that I think you have challenged. You know, you're talking about the tech guy that is not great at communication, but is great at crunching data. And I'm interested in terms of like your journey, were you already so good at presenting, public speaking,
terrible.
and all that? So tell me a bit more about your journey, because, you know, when people talk about you or talk about SEO, talk about paid ads, your name always comes out. So you've done something right on that part. How was the journey to get there?
Maybe I've just been a better communicator than other search engine engineers, right? Let me ask you, how many search engine engineers do you know that are out there that are willing to be on a podcast and talk about stuff like this? How many do you know?
Others, to be honest, like my network is not in there. So
you're telling me, Simone, that I am the best search engine engineer that you know, but I'm the only one that you know, right? And anyone listening here, I'm probably the only one that you know. So it just goes back to what we said before, right? And it's not that I'm the best of all these other people talking about SEO and whatnot. I'm the only search engine engineer. So it's very easy for me to dominate that because I'm competing against almost nobody else, right? Most of my friends are retired.
How was it for you in the beginning? How was it for you?
In the beginning, I was terrible.
Because I bet, like, for example, if you were like also not having a lot of other people, like I think we learn a lot by examples. Other people pave the path that we can follow. You didn't have many of those. So to tell me a bit more about that.
Well, I was very lucky in the beginning because I was there at the right time when the internet was starting, right? So anyone who was there at the right time, doesn't really matter. You're going to be successful unless you did something really bad. And so I got invited to speak at conferences. When I was at Yahoo, I was with the people who created the foundation of the internet. Like two rows away from my office was Rasmus Lerdorf, and he was the inventor of PHP, which until recently is like the foundational language of building websites and the internet. And the other people who built HTML, who built the kernel, who built like like wrote the things that we use, right? Were people that I had lunch with every day. I just didn't realize it because I was there early. And because of that, I got opportunities to speak. I got opportunities to make friends, and I was terrible. Like my first keynote, I was a closing keynote at the Epiphany conference in front of 2,000 people. I had a 1-hour slot. It's a huge stage. You walk out onto the stage, your name is in the background, they're playing the music, and I was terrible. I didn't know how to speak. Doesn't mean I wasn't a good engineer, right? But I learned to speak by just doing a lot of it. And I also took Toastmasters. So Toastmasters, if you guys aren't part of Toastmasters and you've not learned how to speak clearly, I'd recommend you sign up for Toastmasters. And that's why when you hear me speak now, you won't hear ums and ahs. I speak in complete sentences. I'm not worried about speaking on stage. I don't have stage fright. I lost that many, many years ago. But the first few years, I was scared to death. I would hide in the bathroom because I didn't want to come out and go to a meeting. Even with just 2 people, I didn't want to go to the meeting. I was so scared. In my office, the phone would ring. I wouldn't even pick up the phone. I would just look at the phone and say, why? I don't want to answer this. I'm scared of answering the phone. I was so scared. So if an engineer like me, who I didn't even speak English until I was 6, if I can do this, it's not that hard. I used to look at all these other people that I thought were great public speakers, and I thought, if they're natural, I could never be like that. And it's just practice. You know this, right? You've done 300 plus episodes, just practice.
Yeah. It is.
Doesn't even matter.
Practice. Yeah.
You have the Italian accent. Doesn't even matter, right?
I know.
It's cool,
I know. I started speaking English when I was 20, 21. That was my first introduction to English. And I started my first event company when I was 22, not 23, sorry. And I remember the first few events that I did, like people could barely understand what I was saying. And definitely Toastmaster was a great help as well for myself. I was going and to all the table topics that I could find just to get some practice and some experience. Now, I want to move on the next stage of your journey, though, before we go into more the strategic part of the building brand and the dollar a day strategy. Everyone has a moment that is almost like a breakthrough moment for them and their career. Yeah. What was that breakthrough moment that put Dennis Yu on the map?
I had a mentor who is the CEO of American Airlines. And I came to him for advice all the time, just because this man was very successful. He knew a lot. I was just a kid, and he took me under his wing. And I was trying to make a decision where I should go for my first real job. Should I go to Goldman Sachs, which is banking in New York City, or should I go to American Airlines, right? His company. And I wanted to go to Goldman Sachs because they were making a lot of money way back. Yeah. And it was back then they were a private company. My aunt was there. A lot of my family members were there. They were very successful. I could have used my connections to do that. But American Airlines, they needed to build a website. And this is back in 1995, 1996. And I thought, how many years ago was that? Like 27 years ago. Yep. And he's told me this one piece of advice that I tell other young adults, because I think most people don't even understand it. He said this: focus on your learning curve, not your earning curve. And so I started out at American Airlines making $36,000 a year. And I would have made double, triple that. I would have made 5 times that at Goldman Sachs within 2 years. But if I didn't start at American Airlines and work on internet things, I would have never made it to Yahoo. And then Yahoo would have never gotten me to, I wouldn't have gotten the background in working with really big databases to then be able to work on social media data, to then be able to build systems. So it's one of those butterfly effect things where it compounds. And so I leveraged my expertise in data in something small to like 4 or 5 steps. You play chess, 4 or 5 steps later resulted in something bigger. Now, maybe if I had gone to Wall Street and Goldman Sachs, maybe I would have, done something else there that would have been equally as powerful or even better in terms of databases and data mining and algorithms and stock trading, but who knows, right? But I knew that was the right choice because I was going to go to Goldman Sachs because I would have made more money. in the first year or two. But he said, look further, right? Would an extra $20,000 or $30,000 per year really affect, in 10 years from now, would an extra $20,000 or $30,000 per year really make a difference? And I said, no, not really. He said, then make your decision based on where the dentist of 10 years from now would like to be.
That's such a powerful advice. That's such a powerful piece of advice, because for a lot of families, what a lot of young people do, they follow the money. You follow what's the highest paid job, in particular at the beginning. Your parents want you to get the highest paid job you can get. There is less the option of follow something that you follow that learning curve and the trends, or where the world is going, or getting those skills that are going to help you actually being in, like, wherever you put your CV out, they just want you in because these are the skills that are needed right now. At what point did you decide then to go solo and to start your own company? Because coming from like employee mindset and employee mentality and employees opportunities and skills that you have, very different from running a business, as you well know.
That's right.
At what point did you decide to make the crazy decision and say, you know what, I'm done. I create my company now.
Yeah. Well, there was just too much nonsense at Yahoo. A small company that's successful eventually becomes a big company. And at the big company, there's bureaucracy. And when I was there at Yahoo early, it was great because I was thinking, wow, I'm working side by side with these people who are we were just able to do whatever we want. And I feel that these people are many levels above me, because I'm thinking, wow, I don't belong here. They're going to fire me any minute, right? Because these people are just so good. But then, because A people hire A people. But then these B-level people came in, and C-level people, and then the C-level people hire their D-level friends. And I started thinking, who are these idiots? How did these idiots get into the company? And eventually my meeting schedule was so full. I used to have almost no meetings because we were building things, right? Engineers, we code things, that my meetings were full from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. I had no time to do any work. I just went to meetings. So I blocked out time on my calendar saying, Dennis's private working time, do not book. And people would book on top of Dennis's meeting time because there was no other time in my calendar. I said, no, I have no time to work. So then I would work from 5 p.m. until midnight. I would go to the cafeteria because Yahoo would, you have the cafeteria. That's why the .coms have the cafeteria, to keep you there to work. Google makes all the free food, so you work there, right? It's not because they love the employees. It's because they keep you there longer.
Keep you there and create an environment that you don't want to leave. So then,
and after too much of this, because I would have my best ideas, my best inspiration when nobody was bothering me. So usually between like 10 p.m. and midnight, I'd come up with a great idea or some new feature I wanted to build, and I'd be able to work on it because there's no meetings, no one to interrupt me. But then sometimes, you get a great idea and you just want to keep going. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. I would stay up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning working on something, right? But then there's a meeting at 9 o'clock, a stupid meeting. And so I would message these other people saying, you know what? I've been up working late. I'm not going to go to your meeting, right? And they would get all mad, right? Dennis didn't come to our meeting. He didn't come into the office until noon. Yeah, I was working till 4 a.m. Yeah. But Dennis is lazy. He only shows up at noon. I work twice as hard as you work. But anyway, after enough of that, I realized that I was never meant to be an employee. And I was never, technically I was an employee. I was an employee for basically 10 years because I worked at Yahoo and American Airlines. But what I was, and maybe a lot of you guys, you have not made the switch yet. Maybe you're still working a job for the safety of the paycheck. I realized I was an intrapreneur, right? An intrapreneur is someone where you're inside someone else's company. It's their money. Like at American Airlines, I was an intrapreneur because I could spend, I had the wallet of a multi-billion-dollar company. I could buy all kinds of things, right? If I wanted to buy software, hire engineers, I had a $50 million a year budget, right? Isn't that awesome? You could spend money on all kinds of things. And then I'll say, hey,
it's even better than being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Because what I would do when I was at American is there are companies that I was interested in that I wanted to learn about their software because I thought it was really interesting. So I would just call them up and I'd say, hey, I want to learn about your software that does content marketing or whatever it is, some kind of cool tool. And you know what? I'd always get a call back, right? Why do you think I always, like the CEO would call me back? Any company, could be Oracle, could be Larry Ellison. It could be, who is it from MicroStrategy? Like all these people, I got to talk to these CEOs of all the big .com companies. not because I was anybody special, but because they saw, oh, it's American Airlines, it's American Airlines. So I did better internally as an entrepreneur because I leveraged the fact that I worked at American Airlines. So that's how I got to speak on all the stages. Same thing for Yahoo, right? Oh, Dennis, you of Yahoo. So people want to ask questions about SEO because I'm the guy, I work at Yahoo, right? I understand what goes on in the algorithm, this kind of thing. And so I never really was an entrepreneur and I never really was an employee. I was always leveraging what my current situation could provide me. So the benefit, and it wasn't that I was taking advantage of being at Yahoo. It's that for me to do my job at Yahoo and to do these deals, I had to become known in the industry, right? Just by nature of that particular role. So I got the very best education, right? Imagine, Simone, you were in my shoes 20 some years ago at Yahoo, and you were working with the other .coms out there, the other guys that were building software. Maybe you're working with Pete Buchheit, who created Gmail, right? So my buddy Bharath Devanathan was one of the key engineers on Yahoo Mail. But our friend Pete, who was just 3 miles away, he created Gmail, right? He just created Gmail kind of on the fly. And, a lot of people use Gmail today, right? But we're just hanging out with these different people and we're coming up with ideas. What kind of advantage is that of being around the right people? So it wasn't that I just said, you know what, screw the corporate job. I'm now going to start my own business. That never happened. I always was entrepreneurial, but what I call it being intrapreneurial because I'm leveraging the assets and the name of the big company. So I was always doing consulting on the side. Maybe that was legal, maybe that was not legal in the contract that I had with Yahoo, but I was already making money, on the side. It just came a certain point where, I already have so many connections. I already have so many deals and projects going that I'm just tired of working at Yahoo. I'm gone.
I think that based on this conversation, there are so many lessons for people that they have this idea of, okay, if I'm starting my business, I'm starting from scratch. And I see that people making this mistake over and over again, where they don't actually leverage on the opportunities that they had before, or they don't create also a network around them, or they create opportunities with the situations that they are in. Because this becomes a great springboard for everything that you want to launch instead of then starting something and then looking around. So, where do I start? What am I doing here? So that's a great piece of advice for everyone who is maybe start thinking about making the leap into entrepreneurship, but is not leveraging currently all the opportunities and the network and situations that there are in their current job.
And so when I started, I had zero risk when I left. It was already great. I'd advise people don't quit your current job until your new job is creating enough income and whatnot that you reduce the risk. The last thing you want to do is try to work 2 jobs at the same time. You're going to fail.
And also you're going, I'm with you with that, because then otherwise you're going to go into survival mode. If you need that money to pay the bills, and it's very difficult to have a grounded conversation with a client where now you would be willing to bend backwards and just to get that particular client. And I did that for that mistake. I lasted 6 months. I lasted 6 months. Then I called my mom. I said, Mom, can you send me some money for rent? Then my parents are divorced. So I called my dad after a couple of months. Dad, can you send me some money for rent? And then after a while, I had to go back and then built the company while I was having my income and my basic expenses covered, which I could just focus on the creativity part and putting the foundations in place. Now, I know that for you, that you're doing something that is really important at the moment, which is creating 1 million jobs. Tell me a bit more about that, where it came from, and what current projects are you involved in?
It started 25, 30 years ago. Mentorship was so important. It made one of the biggest impacts on my life because there's no way I could have seen the things that I didn't know. I was a young, dumb kid, certainly smart. I was a good engineer, good at math, but mentorship, to get help from people in the industry, to know, for example, that going to American Airlines was a better choice for me than to go to Goldman Sachs, as we talked about. And I want that to be on a much larger level, so other young adults could also benefit. So I've done a lot of mentoring, but how many people can you and I mentor, right? maybe a few dozen, right? How do we do this on a much larger scale? We need to create systems so that people who are experts in an area can also train up others and mentor them, but not just, oh, you're going to meet with your mentor once a week, because that doesn't scale. That's coaching, right? That coaching doesn't scale. We need to have a standard. So you think about, there's a standard when you fly in an airplane, right? The pilot is trained. The pilot didn't just watch YouTube videos over the weekend and get in the cockpit. The surgeon who does the heart operation had to go to medical school and get trained and be certified. They didn't just, watch another surgeon and now, hey, you can try that. That looks easy. No, you actually trust that. There is no current standard right now in digital marketing. But the good news is, working with our friends like GoDaddy and Infusionsoft and onlinejobs.ph and Instagram and Descript and all of our industry friends that do software and networks, all of them have agreed that we should create a singular training program. And Jake Paul reached out to me a year ago and he said, hey, I want to create a training program. And I said, wow, I must be in the matrix. And my friend Mark Glack said, yeah, Dennis, this is your dream. Holy moly. This is like, you could not have wished for anything more than that. Because, maybe one day eventually I would reach out to some of the influencers that the young adults look up to and say, hey, look at all this training that I've created. Look at my background. Look at all the people that have come through our programs. We should partner together. I was thinking, one day, maybe I'll be brave enough. I will reach out to some of these people and say, the top TikTokers or whoever, maybe one day I'll have the courage to reach out to them and say, maybe we could work together. You don't know who I am, right? But instead, the number one influencer among young adults reached out to me. And I thought, I must be dreaming. And so we created this program at financialfreedommovement.com that's about to launch any day now. And it's helping young adults go through training from, you select what you want. You want to learn how to build websites. You want to be a social media agency, right? You want to get big on YouTube. You want to sell things and your t-shirt with your name or whatever, whatever it is you want to do, select the thing you want to do. And then we have 30 experts and each person has done that particular thing. Yeah. We'll teach you how to do that particular kind of thing. Like if they select, I want to sell my own products on e-commerce and scale Shopify. Then Jake and I say, great. You want to be able to scale your e-commerce. And it's a choose your own adventure. So you click on the thing that you want and they choose your own adventure, right? You've seen how that works. So we created this whole video that does, it's fascinating, right? So then, you click on that and it says, oh, hey, I'm Brendan Agronoff and Jake and Dennis and I, or Jake and Dennis told me that you wanted to grow e-commerce. So glad you're here. Let me log in and show you how I'm making almost $1 million a month. And let me show you where I was 7 or 8 years ago when I started. And I'm going to show you step by step how I did it. And so you can do the same thing, just like baking your favorite recipe. If you have the right ingredients, you follow the steps, you will get the result, right? And so we have this step by step for any area in digital marketing. There's no magic. There's no secret. It's just literally just like fixing a car, flying a plane, doing the surgery. We show how to do all of this. And so that is what has made things valuable to me, is how do we scale an apprentice type program that can be done with people who have done it, not people who have watched a lot of YouTube videos and said, oh yes, I'm going to teach you how to make $1 million. That's bogus, right?
That's so fascinating because, and definitely needed, because there is no, like if someone wants to learn, they need to do a lot of due diligence, and everyone pretends to be, the next messiah. Right. Oh, my system is the best. Oh, and so having a place where actually you can go and that whatever you're getting is going to be quality and is going to be from people that actually have done it, that they can do that as well. That's brilliant. And in particular, it's going to create a lot of jobs for people that are going to go into this industry. Can you repeat the website again? So then someone can write it down.
Yeah, it's at financialfreedommovement.com. I did not choose that name. He chose that name a long time ago, and we even agreed that wasn't really a great name. But you know what? We already have it there. And whatever the name is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that these young adults, and then not so young adults, because we see like stay-at-home moms and virtual assistants in the Philippines, and anyone who, like, COVID changed this whole thing, with online work and digital. Anyone that wants to learn how to make this sounds like a scam if I say this, but anyone that wants to learn how to have a career in digital marketing, where we'll teach you how to do this and give you the clients, like the real estate agents, mortgage brokers, the doctors, the attorneys. Like, we have the network of all these small businesses that want help, which makes sense, because if you get the certification is only as valuable as your ability to turn that into work, right?
100%.
So we think young adults are good at social media, right? They are on TikTok and Instagram. And the business owners, they know they need to be on social media, but they don't know what to do. But they know the young adult understands social media. So we just are bringing this together, right? It's like an Uber or the ride sharing service. So you have supply and demand. So the Uber doesn't actually own the cars. Uber just brings the supply and demand. So we have the supply of all the young adults, and we have the demand of all the business owners.
And then match them together, and then
exactly. We're just matching it. So we're not the agency. We're training up both sides. We're telling the business owner, like we did a masterclass with Tom Ferry. So for anyone who's a real estate agent, they know Tom Ferry is the #1 respected person in real estate. So he has 450,000 real estate agents that follow him, right? So if you don't know who he is, it doesn't matter. You're probably not a real estate agent. But if you're a real estate agent, then you'll see Tom Ferry and I created a masterclass on digital marketing to train all the real estate agents. Here's how you rank better on Google, your Google My Business profile, which is now the other thing, your Facebook page, getting reviews, Facebook ads, YouTube. Like, we're teaching all the things that an agent needs to drive more, buyer and seller leads. And we say, here it is, and here's all the checklists. But if you don't want to do it, here's all these young adults that are trained, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that brings both sides together, the young adults and the businesses, is that we have this training.
Yep.
So the young adults can come through the training and get certified, and the small business owners can come through the training. They can do it themselves, or they can hire
the young adults. This makes perfect sense. So there is a financialfreedommovement.com. Now, what I want to go in the next part, which is the last part of the interview here, which we're going to talk a bit more tactical part. That's going to be the next part. And I know that you have a lot of skills in the digital marketing part, but in particular, you're great at building brands. And because everything in digital marketing is about then building a particular brand. And there is a particular strategy, which is a $1 a day using ads. So tell me a bit more about building brands and what mistakes as well you see people making. And then if we can go into that particular strategy and why businesses should implement it.
Yeah. So Simone, let's say that somebody reaches out to you and they want to meet with you. Maybe they want to be on your podcast, whatnot. What's the first thing you do?
I check them out.
You check them out. And when you check them out, you look at you Google them, you look at their website, you look at their YouTube, you look at all these different things, right? And then if you go to their YouTube and you see that they have a fair number of videos, but it says like 5 views and 8 views and 3 views or whatever, what do you think?
Lose credibility.
And what if they're an author, speaker, coach, expert, right? They claim they're so important, right? And maybe they are actually an expert. And then you go look at their Facebook and you see like no engagement. You see very little going on. You see they don't have many friends in common. What do you think?
Low credibility.
Okay. And let's say I invited you to be on my podcast, the Coach U podcast. Well, before you decide whether you want to go on the Coach U podcast, what are you going to do?
I'll check out the Coach U podcast.
Okay. So you check out the Coach U podcast, and let's say that there's only 2 episodes and there's people you've never heard of. And then you look at them and it's okay, but there's only like 5 views. What do you think?
No credibility. Maybe that's not the right place for me. I'm just wait a bit. Let's wait a bit more. Yeah. And so we see that is true of 99% of the author, speaker, coaches. Now, that doesn't mean that, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. A lot of people say, oh, Dennis says you should just go out there and buy a bunch of fake fans and fake views. No. If you use the $1 a day strategy, then when you produce the content, then you can make sure the right audience is seeing it. So
with Simone's content, we don't want just everyone on the planet to see this. That doesn't make any sense. We want the people who want to learn how to build their brand, who want to be seen better, who want to start a podcast, who want to be able to sell more services, who want to be able to create a book on their knowledge, who want to be able to get more clients, who want to like what we want. We know who that audience is, and we can use the dollar a day approach to make sure they're being seen. So you and I got connected through Jeff Hunter, right?
Yeah.
And Jeff Hunter has a medium-sized audience, right? He's not a big deal, but then he's not nobody. So it's kind of in the middle. And what we can do is we could take, for example, content that you and I have made, and then let's say this podcast, and I can target all the fans of Jeff Hunter on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, because now he's on TikTok, right? On Snapchat, and I can target all of them for a couple dollars a day. How hard do you think it is? Let's say that maybe Jeff Hunter and I, sometimes we argue on Twitter just for fun, right? How long do you think it takes to take one of those conversations and then boost it on Twitter for $1 a day, so all of Jeff's fans and friends and community sees what I have to say? How long does it take to do that?
That's probably a couple of minutes.
Yeah, 2 or 3 minutes. Now, let's say that Jeff came to my VIP 3-day in-person masterclass at Infusionsoft's headquarters, right? He flew down, spent 3 days with me, with the other executives, and we made a lot of video together. And let's say I was nobody, right? Let's say Jeff Hunter is like a big deal. I'm nobody, right? But I made a bunch of videos with Jeff. And I heard some other social media consultants say, oh, you should make content with these other people. And you should put it on your blog and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all these different places. And it gets no views, but I made good content. Let's say the content was actually good. How much effort would it be to then boost any one of those pieces of content for $1 a day to the right audience?
Yeah. It's not expensive at all, and it's very easy to implement.
So the $1 a day strategy is making sure that you are being seen by the right audience. It's that easy. We've done it thousands of times. Tens of thousands of people have gone through it. And it works in almost any situation where you want to generate visibility, where organically TikTok and Google and Facebook aren't giving you the reach. Because here's the dirty secret. You have to pay now. Okay.
Yeah.
You do. Like, I understand SEO very well. I worked at the search engine. You have to pay now. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you a few of them just to show you it applies in any situation you want to be seen, if you know exactly the audience. So a friend of mine, Bryce Clark, he got ripped off by the car dealership. I won't go into the whole detail of what happened, but he's some kid, he got ripped off. And they said, no, we're not going to fix the car. And I said, yes, you are. So I told Bryce, write a blog post, say exactly what happened, what the car dealership said they were going to do, and then what actually happened. And then they decided not to honor the deal that you had. You had a text message that showed that the general manager said, yes, I'll fix the car, right? I promised to fix the car, but then didn't do it. Put it on your blog, and then he will fix it for you. And Bryce said, no, but my blog has no power. No one's going to see it. And I even told him this. And he said, and the general manager just kind of laughed at me and said, yeah, you're going to put it on social media. Says all the other customers too, right? You think I'm afraid of whatever you're going to write on social media, right? This is the guy who owns many dealerships. It's called Earnhardt Chevrolet. It's in Phoenix. It's a chain of all the car dealerships, right? And so Bryce was like, I don't think this is going to work, because the owner said, whatever, go ahead and talk on social media. I don't care. So Bryce did this. He made the blog post, and we made a Facebook ad for $1 a day. And we targeted the people that work at Earnhardt Chevrolet, not the people who like Earnhardt Chevrolet, not the people who have been to Earnhardt Chevrolet, the people who work at Earnhardt Chevrolet, all the employees.
Yeah.
And sure enough, 2 days later, the GM calls, okay, whatever you need to do, like, okay, I'll just bring. Right. And I made sure they got to see the post as well. So the $1 a day approach is really a PR approach. It is a secret PR approach. You know exactly who he's got the lens to.
Yeah.
So the general manager called and said, "What are you doing? I don't know how you're doing this. I'm getting calls from everywhere. Just bring the car in. I will get it fixed, and just don't ever do this again." And what happened was we were targeting all the employees of his business. And a lot of people don't know that social media allows you to target by who the people are. Google is about what they're searching for, but people don't understand that social media, like Twitter, I can target all the fans of Jeff Hunter. I can target all the people who are general contractors. I can target all of the pregnant moms in Minneapolis, right? I can target all the people who have a certain kind of degree. I can target all kinds of things about who they are and what their pain is and the company they work for and whatnot. A friend of mine has the license for Elvis, the Elvis bedding, and Elvis, right?
Yeah.
And so Elvis pillows and Elvis sheets. For some reason, he owns all the license to be able to sell that. And he wanted to sell it inside Walmart, right? So now that you know a little more about the $1 a day strategy, who would you target?
Employees of Walmart.
Exactly. So you target all the employees of Walmart, but not every Walmart employee, because that's over 1 million just random employees. I would target the executives in Bentonville, Arkansas, which is their headquarters town, right? Because I've seen people, they'll say, "Oh, Dennis, I tried your $1 a day strategy and I targeted everybody who works at the supermarket." I'm like, no. Yeah. Like, figure out exactly who you want to target. If it's decision makers, or if it's people who have been to your website in the last 24 hours and they haven't bought, or if it's a competitor, or if it's, someone who's well-known, like if you've been on someone's podcast, then you should target that. For example, Grant Cardone is well-known, right? So he and I have made a lot of videos together, but most people don't know that. So I'll take these videos and I'll put it out there for $1 a day, and I'll target Grant Cardone. So if I target people, so imagine you're the algorithm, you're the Facebook algorithm, you're the Google algorithm, right? And you see Grant Cardone content targeted to Grant Cardone. What do you think the relevancy score of that is?
That's going to be incredibly high.
Really high. So because the relevancy score is really high, then what do you think the algorithm, what kind of benefit do you think it's going to give me?
Well, it's going to push it even more because now the relevancy score is high.
Right. So I did that on Facebook, for example, and I took my Grant Cardone videos targeting the Grant Cardone, and my cost per view was like 0.3 cents. My engagement rate was 20%. My average watch time was 23 seconds. Like, the numbers were great, right? And so a lot of people who know Grant Cardone, they know who I am, right? So same thing. When we launched this thing with Jake Paul, I'm not saying it has to be Jake Paul or Grant. It could be anybody. It doesn't have to be someone. It doesn't have to be a celebrity, right? But the point I want everyone to understand here, which is key to the $1 a day approach, is what is it? What is it that you can feed the algorithm? So when I say algorithm, I mean Google or Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or all of Netflix, Amazon. They're all the same thing, the same algorithm. Can you create content, or the content that you've created, can you match it with the target that has a really, really high relevance score so people want to consume it, and then put content out there that's not advertising content? Because most entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, they'll use our $1 a day technique, but to promote the direct sale. Oh, here's my coaching thing. Here's, buy my product.
Or sign up for this webinar, or
use $1 a day to show that you have an association with that other person.
Yeah.
And then when they attend your webinar, when they put in the email, when they do whatever, when they watch the little 2-minute snippet, when they watch the podcast, then they're going to want to Google you. And then that's when they want to buy. But if you try to drive from cold straight to the sale, then the algorithm will say, no, that's too far. That's trying to get married on the first date. Too far, right? Maybe in some cultures it's okay. But here we're trying to, remember, we said most author, speaker, coaches, experts, nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
So we have to get them from zero to the first step of association, right? So any content you have, not selling content, And people say, well, why would I want to run ads against the podcast? I'm not selling anything. Well, why? Because I want to get known, the association.
You want to build a relationship. That's going to be thinking actually something that I'm going to do it. This is my commitment. I'll say to everyone here who is listening or watching. Now we got definitely content with you. Now I've got an interview with Dr. John Martini. I've got an interview with Frank Kern. One with Les Brown. I've done an event with Les Brown. I've done an event with Gary Vee. So I can leverage a lot of that using the strategy, and I'm going to do it.
So Simone, here's what you do. You have your team, or so for guys that don't have a team, use Fiverr or, get a VA, pull out the best 1 minute highlights of you and Frank Kern and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these other people, right? The best little ones. So, like a movie trailer versus the movie. So we're creating a movie trailer, right? Pull out the best 1 minute things. Don't have a bumper. Don't have things like that, because that just gets in the way, right? Just go immediately. The first second, go straight to the big punchline, the big, oh, wow, Gary Vaynerchuk said this. And then they see you and him, go back and forth. Just 1 minute clips, put out there $1 a day. And all you're trying to do in that first layer of boosting, all you're trying to do is get them to see that you and Gary Vaynerchuk and Frank Kern are having a good conversation, or you and me, we're having a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
Just 1 minute, could even be 3 minutes, but just 1 minute. And then put other pieces of content that are longer content, and put other content that drives people to a landing page where they can get the whole. So the movie trailer, what's the goal of a movie trailer?
To get people interested, to get people to watch the entire movie.
So then watch the entire movie. So the entire movie is your lead magnet, because now they have to put in the email address. The entire movie is the whole podcast episode. And then in the podcast, or on the landing page, or in the email sequence after they sign up, then you make the offer. Then you say, hey, buy my product. Hey, I have this $1,000 thing. But the first two steps usually should be free. And that's where most of the author, speaker, coaches, they mess up, because they go straight for the sale because they need the money, or they can't afford to invest in their brand, or they don't understand, or they think that advertising means you have to drive immediately to get people to buy. And that's a big mistake.
And it also becomes really expensive if you play that game. Like you're talking about, it's easier, it's cheaper actually to get a client that is already familiar with you, that already trusts you, or that already have consumed content, rather get someone that has no clue about who you are to even show up to a webinar. So I'm definitely going to do it. And now to wrap up this interview, Dennis, which has been incredible, from understanding your journey and how you got started, how you created your company, the mission that you have now to create 1 million jobs, and also the $1 a day strategy to build brands. If someone wants to reach out to you, they want to know more maybe about the $1 a day strategy, or the movement that you're creating with Jake Paul, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Reach out to me on any channel that you prefer, but I prefer LinkedIn if you don't have a preference. Literally just Google me, right? And you'll see all this stuff will pop up, and I'm available and open on all those channels. I knew that things were going down at Yahoo many years ago, when I had people that were working for me on my team at Yahoo say, oh, you should just Google that. And I said, do you know what company you work at?
Oh,
you can't be saying that. You cannot be driving a Toyota to the Honda dealership. Okay. Don't do that. Oh. But that's when I said, okay, well, the best thing, if you want to find out if even the people on my team who work at Yahoo are Googling it, you want to find me, Google me. All right. And we'll chat.
All right, that's brilliant, Dennis. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you,
so make sure you Google Dennis Yu. We're going to have all Dennis links in social media and website in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down and check it out, or it is in the description section as well if you're watching this on social media, or on Facebook or YouTube as well. Having said that, if you enjoy this show and you want us to attract more incredible guests like Dennis, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps with the show, and also is good for my ego, which I would really, really appreciate it. Until next time, have a fantastic rest of the day, evening, night, whatever your time zone is. And always remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.